This show is sponsored by PowerfulWomenUSA.com, a place to be inspired by other women. Well, hey everybody, I'm Jill Conway, and this is Secrets of Powerful Women, a show dedicated to celebrating and supporting strong and successful women and sharing their stories. I am hoping that you will be inspired to pursue your own dreams, reclaim your voice, and discover your strengths. So my guest today is Karen Campbell. Karen is the founder and president of My Age in Place Advocate Incorporated. She is on a mission to empower older adults and their families to live safely and independently at home. So Karen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jill, for having me. And I'm so happy to not only be here, but to add some information to your audience who may, want to know what is age in place and how do I do that for
Yeah.
a loved one.
Exactly. And that's where I want to jump in. I read an article and it said 92% of seniors prefer to age in place, staying in their homes, but only 10% really are ready to do this. So why don't we jump in there and say, what exactly is an age in place specialist like yourself?
So, an age in place specialist like myself is a consultant who specializes in creating plans of action for one to age in place independently with dignity and care at home. And so I come in when you want to create a plan that is both clear with full intention of what does aging in place looks like for you, not anyone else, but specifically for you.
Now, do you invite the families in when you have this conversation?
Most of the times when I'm brought in is because I'm brought in by a family member.
Yeah.
For a senior, when there's something that they notice that is not feeling good for them, that they question, they stay awake at night, is my loved one safe? They know they need to do something, but between working, taking care of their own household,
Hmm.
there may be a gap of information or resources that they know they need, but where do I begin so that I can keep my loved one safe at home? And that's where someone would call me, and I come in and support you in that plan.
Yeah. What are the common, like you said, people are up late worrying about what can you give us a scenario?
So, okay, so one of the scenarios is you go to see mom or dad, and you just notice that though either the way they're walking or talking just seems a little off, or a conversation you're having with them, all of a sudden this conversation is incomplete. They start to talk about something else. The focus goes somewhere else, and you just put it in the back of your mind. Maybe they're tired, so you start asking, "Did you get enough sleep?" And all. But because you don't know what you don't know, you want to just trust whatever answer they give you, but it's always in your back of your mind. Something doesn't seem right.
Well, it's so true. I think you don't know unless you're really truly seeing that person every day or living with that person, right? It's so hard for, especially kids and of any age when they're not living with mom or dad.
Yes, absolutely. Or if you haven't seen them for a while. For myself, I'm a long distance caregiver, so that's even another space in the caregiving arena where you can't get there right away. So, what do you do? And for
Right.
me, it's about three things. And one is creating relationships with individuals that can support you. And that includes your loved one care team, a neighbor, family members, acquaintance that not only have you vetted, but are compassionate, they'll follow through, and you can rely on them. The second one I would offer, if you have a loved one and you're long distance like myself, or even if you're there but you're working, put a camera in the home. Talk to them through the camera or a smart device. It will tell you a story if something is off so that you don't become reactive to it. You can plan for it. And the last one I would say is always have a case of emergency kit, and we can go circle back around to that later. What is in case of an emergency? Because everyone should have one.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that, surely. So I do want to, we talk about, the challenge is. And as I mentioned earlier, so many people don't want to, you know, send their parents to a facility or move them into one, I should say. And so many older Americans want to live in their homes, right? But what are the struggles that go with that? What are the challenges um, that senior Americans face living alone in their homes?
I would say the first challenge for anyone is the perception that I may lose my independence if I get my adult children involved, and I don't want to do that. And so they stay and they struggle, and there isn't a sacred space. And when I say a sacred space, it means that there is someone that I trust that has already created a sacred relationship with me, that I can have an honest conversation, or what I call a courageous conversation, to open up to what I, as a senior, am feeling, and that have someone who is willing to support me with those or walk me through those concerns.
And is that often an independent person?
It can be anyone that you want, that you trust as a senior, that you know would not only be respectful of your fears, but will support you, validate you, know that you matter, and support you, which even having that courageous conversation,
Hmm.
encourage you to have that courageous conversation with family members.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is often very hard to do. It's very hard
It,
to do.
it is.
And there's also, I think, loneliness, right? I mean, so many older Americans, they're either, oftentimes their eyesight isn't what it was, their hearing starts to diminish, and they might not know it. And then I think they further isolate themselves.
Absolutely. Loneliness is one of those things, regardless of what age you are, is something we don't want for anyone. Every human being on this planet should have some sort of contact with someone else who really cares about them, that they can just unfold into their own selves. And
Mm,
when I say unfold, I mean you just be yourself with no fear, and that the other individual's not judging you, and they're just there to support you, and you trust them.
that's got to be hard, right?
It
That's
is.
hard for anybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is difficult, to first, one, recognize you're alone, and then two, like, what do you do with that? What do you do
Mm,
with that concern? Whether it's mentioning it to your healthcare provider that you may have seen for many years, so you trust them, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's a
mm,
family friend, or a loved one, and work together with them to create different opportunities where that senior is no longer home. There could be activities outside the home, activities in and around the home. There could be individuals that stop by, like a spiritual house
mhm,
that they may have frequent, but they can't go there because the mobility is limited. Well, that spiritual house can set something up where they come into the house twice
mm,
a week through volunteers to check in not only on that senior, just making sure things like medications are being taken,
mm,
that there's enough food in the refrigerator, there's no fall risk. Like,
mm,
any of us can get involved with that, but always seek permission with a senior
mm,
to make those concerns vocal to them.
mm. I find that so many seniors, though, like you said, they don't want to lose their independence, and um, they can be very stubborn about that, even if they maybe shouldn't be living alone anymore, right?
Absolutely. And that's where we meet the individual where they're at.
Mm.
So, one of the things that I do when I meet seniors like that, which, by the way, I love that a senior is stubborn. I love that a senior is fiercely independent, because for me, that means there's a fighting spirit in there that just wants to be seen and heard. So, my responsibility as an age and place advocate consultant is to come in and to listen 80% of the time. And as you're talking, I'm walking you through those barriers that you shared with me. And slowly, with your help and support, we slowly remove each of those barriers by diving into them, taking a look at them, looking at the things that are uncomfortable, the things that make us feel afraid, and then coming up with solutions that are tangible, that that senior can work with without losing their independence, and reminding them all the time that this care plan that you and I create, you are the one in charge of it. I am just supporting you, getting it in place and following up. That if there needs to be a change, together we make those changes.
Mm. So talk to me about what a age in place plan could look like that you help with.
Well, one thing that it could look like is starting off with an assessment for safety in the home. That's the first thing you want to do because we want to keep the senior safe at
Yeah.
home. And so you're checking things like a old rug that may have curled at the edge, that's a chirping hazard. You may want to look at if they're working with either a walker or any other mobility instrument in the home. Are they using it correctly? Are they using it safely? When they're in the bathrooms and they're in either shower that's walk-in or a tub, are they grab bars or things set up in the home that they can just reach, very convenient without too much stretching of a body that may not be able to do that anymore. And so these are the things when I come in, I look at the stairs, I look at the entryway. Are they safe for this particular senior? And if so, what can we modify in the home to keep that senior safe? And we're not talking about removing a wall or anything construction wise, but we're just looking at the simple, basic things that we can do to keep that senior safe.
What's the most common thing that you pick up on as soon as you walk into a home that needs it? Like, what's the number one thing that you do first?
The first thing I do is the entryway of the home. Are there stairs? And if there's stairs, are there rails for them to hold on to? And then see how they're walking up and down those stairs to see what other suggestions that can be, you know, shared with the senior. And then when I walk in, I'm looking at the floors, the rugs. I'm also looking for clutter. Because if you have clutter in a home and there's an emergency, if the EMS or emergency crew needs, first responder needs to get in and find you, you don't want them trying to move through clutter to get you support. So I'm looking at all of those, and clutter is a very challenging and sensitive conversation because it requires that a senior work with you to say, okay, maybe I don't necessarily need this pile of newspapers here.
That's
I
big.
can still keep it, but I can put it somewhere else.
Mm.
Because you don't want to come in and judging the behavior. You want to notice the behavior and slowly suggest and get their buy-in and agreement to change some of those behaviors and be flexible that you might come back and find the same challenges.
What is it about clutter and papers and things like that? Is it like I don't know if you even know the answer to this. Is it that it brings them comfort, or the things they still like a to-do list, or, you know?
What I find with most seniors, they grew up in a time where things may have been scarce. There may not have been a lot of something. And sometimes those were basic needs. And so they learn to hold on to things because they might need it one day. And it's better to have it when you need it than to need it and,
Yeah.
so not have it. So those are the things that I've seen.
Wow. Okay. And so, all right. So, and community, I feel like you talked about, how important it is, but, I can tell you, my mom is 90, and I have
Listen.
tried, God bless her. Right. And she is living alone. My sister lives with her. One of my sisters. I have a big family, but and my nephew is there too. But I've encouraged her to join like the local, senior citizen center. She absolutely refuses. Right? Doesn't want to be around old people.
Everyone says that until they actually go, and
Yeah.
sometimes it may take a loved one going with them for
Mhm.
the first time just to see or check it out.
Yeah.
And once they're there and they're comfortable and they feel safe, because remember, it's something new.
Yeah.
I always find that the senior it will enjoy because there's this ability to socialize with other people. There are meals that are served, there are activities that you can engage with, and there are new friends to make.
Yeah. I think that's the big one because I know, like, I can only speak for my mom and relatives, but when you get to a certain age, your relatives start passing on, siblings pass on, and things like that, and then they're like, "Well, here I am. I don't have many friends anymore." So that's
And
very
that's
hard.
when I encourage families to bring in companions. There's a difference between a companion, a care agency, and a agency that does skilled care. And I often tell families you want to bring a companion into the home as quickly as possible. Now, the companion is going to be your eyes and ears. The companion is going to build a trusted relationship with that senior where they can go out and do errands and little things that senior didn't think they could do because they no longer drive. That companion can be that person that does that. And oftentimes I tell my seniors when they say to me, I don't need a companion, I said, you're right. You don't need a companion because you're independent. But what if we didn't call the person a companion, but they end up being a personal assistant to you? I said, let me ask you something. Do you know who Brad Pitt is? And they go, yes, I do. And their face lights up if it's a senior woman. I said, do you think he gets his laundry or makes his bed up or breakfast on his own? They go, no, he has all these people. I said, yeah, you notice you said all these people, and all I'm introducing you to is one person. You don't even have to remember their name because I say to them, I don't remember names. I'm good with faces. I said, so you can say, sweetheart, can you reach up there in that counter for me because I can't in that cabinet or on the top of the counter. Can you take me to go pick up my medication? I said, that's your independence. That's your personal assistant. That is you building a relationship with someone you can trust. So your children aren't worried about you.
That's good, Karen. You're good. You're good. How long you been doing this?
I've been doing this well, I started caregiving when I was 19 years old for my great grandmother. And then I cared for my grandfather and grandmother. And now I'm a long distance caregiver for four seniors, my aunt and uncle here in New York, and my parents in Kennesaw, Georgia.
Wow. Wow. So you've been through it firsthand through all of it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I've been there where the tears flowed, either for frustration in myself or for them. Um, I've been there when feeling overwhelmed,
Mhm.
tired. So I know all those emotions that you go through as a family caregiver. It's one of those roles that no one prepares you for. It's a role that is tiring,
Mm.
and sometimes it's a role that no one even says thank you, you
Yeah.
know? And so when a family caregiver like myself get involved, knowing that we're not getting paid, it sometimes can appear to be a thankless position that we didn't ask for. And then we get promoted to being advocates
Yeah.
and we're not prepared. So, how do we transition into each of those roles while responsibly taking care of ourselves and our commitments outside of this loved one, such as a work, a project, or even our own children? And so that's where I come in because I've lived it. And one of the things that supported me through all this, I'm also a patient advocate with Pulse, Family Centered Education and Advocacy here in New York. And that organization, which is not for profit, has been around for over 25 years. It's actually celebrating 30 years. Irene Corina has taught me what it means to be a patient advocate, what to look at so that when my clients end up in emergency room,
Mm-hmm.
I can go there and know exactly what to do. When I'm dealing with my parents or a client, it's the same thing. It's this person that I'm centered on who needs my attention to detail. I need to listen and I need to let them know they're safe and I will honor their wishes.
I think that's a big one, and I've seen it myself with my great aunts and things like that, and my mom. To go into the doctor's office with them and make sure they're hearing everything that they're hearing, and then following the directions of it. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. All right, you're so much information. We're going to take a quick pause here. We'll be back with Karen Campbell after the commercial break. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. Guys, help me get the word out on this. Share this with your friends right now, because this is so good and this is full of so much information that we're all going to have to deal with at some point in our lives. So I really think this is really good. All right, we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, if you're enjoying this conversation, please take a second to follow and subscribe to the Secrets of Powerful Women podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Because every share, comment, and review helps us beat the algorithm and reach more women like you with powerful stories, real conversations, and inspiration to step into their next chapter at any age. And if this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend who needs to hear it. Join us at our next event. All right, welcome back. You're listening to Secrets of Powerful Women. Karen Campbell is with me, and she's an aging in place specialist. So, Karen, again, thank you for joining us. The vital, critical information for all of us, because I think we are facing. I mean, people are living longer, thanks to medicine and the latest discoveries and things like that. And I think we're seeing it more and more and more, that it's not always easy for our seniors to and our families to handle it all. So I want to talk about your story and how you mentioned it. You were caring for your aging relatives. So at what point did you say, I'm going to start doing this as a job?
So I'm going to give a little reference background.
Yeah.
So my working with seniors started when I would work with my great grandmother, my grandparents, and now my long distance mom and dad and relatives here in New York. But prior to really getting into this, I worked with my daughter and son-in-law with a home care agency called Touching Hearts at Home. And I supported building that business out. And in doing so, I learned more than what I already knew about what it looks like to have a great companion with a senior, how they improve their health, their outlook on life. Their disposition becomes lighter, they're friendlier, they feel more independent. And so seeing that spark light back up in a human being that when I met first was in resistance to everything really encouraged me, like, this is where I want to be. I think this is my space to explore and expand and to be of service to others, because being of service to others and a servant leadership has always been one of those qualities that I have for myself. Where can I show up? So I in one of the ways, and multiple ways I do that, is I volunteer a lot. And in volunteering, it's the same thing, all with seniors. I support their outcome to be better than what they thought it could be. And for that, I'm truly honored and grateful to be able to support seniors. And so as I'm navigating through the healthcare system with others, my parents are aging. And then as I'm supporting everyone else that I'm blessed to be in contact with through a family member who asked me to come in 2022. My sister went to visit my parents and noticed the water was shut off. And we were like, that's odd. And so I happened to be going to where they live. And so I stopped by to say, this is where you recognize something, you put in the back of your head, and then you go to investigate. And what does that mean? That means taking some time off to gently go in and see for yourself without prying into too many things what's going on. And so when I went, and this was like just a little after COVID, I saw clutter, I saw unsafe things happening in the home, and then I discovered that the reason why the water was turned off was because there was a lottery scam, not once but twice, that my dad became vulnerable to. And that lottery scam caused food insecurities. So there was no food in the house. He was still driving at that time and is a good driver, but his car was in shop, so there was no vehicle. And when he tried to straighten it out with the bank, he walked 3 hours to the bank in the sun to try to make sense of what's going on, and not knowing that what happened was, even though a check that he deposited, he was told it was good and it cleared, the bank later on reversed that, rightfully so, because they recognized it now that it was a scam. But then that created financial insecurities, which again led to food insecurities and no transportation, and leaving my mom, who's disabled, at home unattended, hungry. And so the first thing I had to do is meet my dad where he was, because when you're the victim of someone else's hand, there is guilt first because you trusted that person or that institution. And so I first had to work with him on that by going onto the FBI website and seeing that there was an FBI agent who spoke about his situation and being scammed. And every day I spoke to my dad to reassure him, we're going to get out of this. I didn't know how, but I just knew I wasn't going to leave them that way. And so slowly I first secured the bank accounts to make sure no one actually had access. Then I created another account so that whatever account that everything is deposited is separate from the account that's paying bills. So if that gets compromised because he has the card, the person can't get but so much. So these are the things that you learn to think about when you're dealing with a senior, that you want to give them the independence, meaning I wasn't going to take away his debit card from him or his credit cards, but I was going to find a way with his trust to monitor them. And the way I did that was say, now that this has happened, do I have permission to check everything else? Can I open these accounts online for you so I can monitor this? And he said yes. And so slowly by surely, I started finding bills that were not paid. The mortgage was behind and in arrears, and so I had to go and fix that. And a lot of tears, a lot of prayer, but I did it.
So, I mean, so talk about that. So your parents were a victim of a financial crime, and there's so many of them. There's so many that target seniors that I mentioned to you earlier. I find it absolutely disgusting that people do that. So what can, in your experience, I mean, yes, thank God you were there to be able to catch it. What can we do to help to prevent our elderly?
That
Yeah.
is a great question. One of the things that you can do, the first thing I always tell people, is to educate yourself and your seniors to the scams that are currently out there. One of the places that you can go to is AARP has a whole
Mm.
area dedicated to scam preventions and fraud.
Wow.
They are also advocating with your state legislators
Mm.
to be aware of these scams and how they can pass bills that support seniors, such as the cryptocurrency kiosk
Mm-hmm.
that ARP has brought to everyone's attention to say there needs to be regulations on this because once seniors put their money in those kiosks, they're not getting it back. Or to work with the banks that when a senior comes in and asks for a large withdrawal, to allow that to be paused for at least a certain period of time until they can investigate more further, maybe contact a next person or family member that so they are aware of to figure out what's actually going. All these things can be done to support you and the senior that you love, and stay on top of it. You can get notifications from ARP. You can research it to find out what scams are, because a lot of them are happening through the phone call, the grandparent scam, where they say a loved one or a grandchild is in jail and you need X amount of money, put it in a box, or go to Walmart and send the money. And those are all no-nos. And those are pulling at the heartstrings of our senior who just wants to support their grandchild getting out of jail, but they don't know it's a fraud.
It's so awful. It's so awful. I know I myself, I always get these phone calls that say like your student loan payment is past due. I'm like, I don't even have a student loan. It's like outrageous to me, but you get them all the time. And I don't know, I don't understand how at this day and age that we can't prevent those phone calls from coming through to everyone, in our country. I don't, it's just terrible to me. So, I do, everything worked out okay because you helped intervene there with your parents.
It worked out beautiful. So now I take care of all their bills and I monitor everything.
Mm.
And so nothing is behind, everything is where it needs to be. And no fraudulent activities have ever been on their account.
Mm. It's got to be hard. Talk about that, about caring for your parents from a long distance.
Well, I'm going to rephrase it. It's not hard.
Okay.
It's challenging. And the reason why I'm saying that is in life, we will always face challenges. And it's how we show up and meet those challenges in the moment
Mm-hmm.
that allows us to succeed to a resolution that helps that loved one in your mental health. It is your mental health.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things you get to do is learn to just take moments to breathe and know it is a moment. Come up with a resolution, but your resolution is not you doing it on your own. In the beginning, I said that you can have other individuals, whether it's healthcare providers, neighbors, family members, who are aware of your situation and what you're trying to do, whether it's long distance
Yeah.
or you live in another town or another county. How can you help your loved one?
Yeah.
And that is creating relationships where individuals will pop by and check in. Individuals that you have a relationship with, that you're not just calling when there's a crisis, but you're calling to check on them as well.
Right.
And
Right.
building a relationship. And so that as they're visiting, they also see the changes. They can also contact you. They know what to look for. And so building a relationship with others to support you, keeping your loved ones safe is the first thing you should do to
Yeah.
create that community where in the center of all of it is your loved one.
Yeah. Talk about, I know you touched on it before, and then it is more, but I don't think that people really talk about this, is the emotional scope and what the emotional spectrum of what the caregivers go through, because they feel like oftentimes it's all on them, and if anything happens to their their elderly parent or whatever, somehow they're going to get blamed for it and things like that. And it is emotional oftentimes, as I mentioned, you're dealing with your kids and your elderly parent, which is such a tough position. Everyone wants a piece, you know? So can you talk about that? What caregivers go through?
Well, caregivers are burnt out, and there is a caregiver fatigue for their compassionate care. We know that a lot of caregivers have health issues because they'll make appointments for mom and dad and make sure mom and dad gets there, but they'll deny themselves that time to go to the doctor for themselves. And a lot of those times is they didn't have a team that can sit with mom and dad that they feel they can trust,
Right.
so they can be out of that house for up to 2 hours to also take care of themselves.
Right.
You also feel overwhelmed. You can feel confused, fatigue. And here's one that I want to really speak about. And this is where I talk about a courageous conversation.
Mm.
Oftentimes, through everyone's family, there's unfortunately times where relationships just are not what we want them to be. And what I mean by that is you might be taking care of a parent that was abusive to you verbally, emotionally. They were withdrawn, and now you're caring for this person. And they need to look, your loved one seems to care what happens to you, or is thankful or cooperative, and it gets frustrating.
Mm.
And you may say a few choice words either in your mind or your head, and then immediately once those thoughts or those words come out of your mouth, you are ridden with guilt. Give yourself permission to be okay with being human.
Mm.
Give yourself permission to be okay with being frustrated,
Mm.
overwhelmed, scared, and just downright don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
It's okay in the moment to feel that way. It's called being a human being. But the moment those feelings come up, the moment you say to yourself, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. This is not me. I ask you please to get help. Help can be respite care. Respite care can be out of the house or in the house, depending on the individual. Talk to your insurance company that your parents have. They may have something within the policy that can support with respite care. Talk to the doctor, the primary care physician. They may know something. Talk to the resources in your community. They may know something. And this is how you build your team of not only resource but information, and you build it before you need it. That's where
Mm.
I come in. I'm helping you build it before you need it, because advocacy should not begin and end with a crisis. It shouldn't.
Mm.
And before you get to that crisis, before you look like a hot mess on the floor with tears and confusion and frustration, you need your team around you that's going to reach out to you while you're on that floor in a childlike position because you don't know what else to do. They're going to give you that firm hand to get up, wipe your tears, get a cup of tea, sit and talk about it. And then, well, how would you like to resolve this? What can I do to support you resolving this? And then you take a deep breath, another sip of tea, and you create a plan.
Mm. That's good. That's good. Let me ask you, because I hear this so often, and kind of facing this one myself with a parent. Um, it is funny with when I'm with a lot of my girlfriends are like they're like same thing, right? So your parent is aging. You you know they need hearing aids because they're missing conversations, like parts of it, but they'll still act like they can hear. What is the best way to encourage them to get hearing aids? Is there a good way to bring it up?
There is always a good way to have what I call, again, a courageous
Yeah.
conversation with a loved
Yeah.
one when it comes around impairments such as hearing. And those conversations can be very gentle and very loving. And again, meeting the individual where they're at, meeting them into a space to find out are they willing to accept and acknowledge that they have hearing loss?
Mm.
And if they do so, how would they like to resolve it? What does that look like? And again, your partnership with a specialist like an ENT
Mm-hmm.
can also support you through the primary care physician, because we often think those courageous conversation needs to come from us. No,
Right.
you can partner with the primary care physician when they're checking those ears and they're
Mm.
talking to them. Mrs. So and so, Mr. So and so, I noticed that if I'm talking to you to the right, you're not responding. If
Mm.
I talk to you to the left, you're not responding. But if I talk in front of you, you're responding. I think you should go see a specialist because I want to make sure
Right.
there's nothing going on there that we need to worry about later that can, find you in the hospital or anything
Mm.
like that.
Mm.
Let me
Mm.
make that appointment for you. Whatever you need to partner with them,
That's
including
good.
a receptionist when you're there.
Yeah.
They'll partner and work with you
Mm.
to get this done. And that message doesn't have to come from you. It came from the primary care physician.
Oh, that's
And you're
good.
making those consults are being given to you in those sheets.
Mm.
You call immediately and make the appointment, and they're going to say up till the very day they're not going to da, da, da. And you say, I understand. I'm not the one asking for this. Your doctor said we need to do this.
That's good. All right, that's good. All right, I want to talk about the emergency kits you mentioned earlier. What should every family have there, or talk what's inside this emergency kit?
So I call this the in case of emergency
Okay.
kit.
Okay.
And what that kit will include, and I'll give you an example for what I do for my parents so it can support the audience. So, what I found that there are sleeves, the same sleeves you use for important documents that are going into binders that are clear.
Mm-hmm.
They now have these sleeves that you can get on Amazon that they would have hanging in workstations in warehouses that will tell the team what is in an aisle that they either can scan through this clear plastic so they can know what's in that aisle.
Mm-hmm.
I ordered those sleeves. They come in different color. One of the two colors was pink and blue. In that, I printed out in case of an emergency, which you get free on the website. And then I filled out the top, my mom and dad's name, their date of birth, their address, what they're allergic to, their medication, their doctors. And I make sure that that's in the sleeve. And then behind the sleeve, which gets changed out with every medical visit, you get a discharge paperwork. And I tell individuals and my clients, we're going to get two. One is going to be located in an agreed upon space in a folder for any in home visits because they're going to need to know what that last doctor's appointment was and what your medication is. And rather than you trying to rattle it off or remember the dosage, let's just leave it here and you say, here's my discharge. And then the second one goes in the sleeve behind the first page of your in case of emergency, so that in case of emergency, when EMS or first responders are there, whoever that caregiver is at that time, whether it's you or a family member or a neighbor, can hand that over to them so they can start care right away. They can know what medication was given, when it's supposed to be given, at what time, who the doctor is, what hospital you want to
That's
go
good.
to.
Yeah.
All those things are on there. So what does that do? It reduces time. And in a case of emergency, when the first responder wants to alleviate the stress on the human body for whatever reason they were called in, having that information that they can take with them is extremely important. And not having to look for it because the individual who called EMS may be in shock, they may
Right.
be frozen. And so you can guide them to where to get these
Good.
things and it's ready. So for my parents, it's kept by the front door.
That's a great idea. That is a great idea. Karen, you know your stuff. You know your stuff. Um, where can people who are listening get in contact with you and say, I want to hire you, Karen?
Wonderful. So Again, my name is Karen Campbell, and I'm the founder of My Age in Place Advocate. You can find me at 516-508-3212. You can always visit the website at www.myageinplaceadvocate.com. And I give free 15 minutes consultation. And because I am confident that in 15 minutes, I can definitely be able to get to the source of your discomfort. And then we can make an appointment to see what we can build together as a care plan for your loved one so you can sleep at night, they can be safe, and you know that that plan is in action right away. And the other thing I tell everyone is be okay with being flexible with a plan, because the plan that worked today may not be the plan that works tomorrow. So we don't get frustrated. We don't get upset. What we do is we adjust ourselves. We say things like, interesting. Okay, here's where we're at. Let's go. Can't wait to see how this works out. And then you go.
I love that. Your biggest, most important bit of advice for anyone listening who are struggling with this
Is to, before you have a crisis, have a courageous conversation with your loved one.
Yeah.
You tell them the difficulty you have to sleep at night and why it's important to you. Because if you come from a home where there is a loved one who really cares about you, they're going to want to know that they're not stressing you out. And oftentimes it's a way that we change our conversation, our tone and mannerism. And we say, I need this for me. I no longer can function at work because I'm worried about you. And again, get a companion in the home. We set up the plan, and I can even help you interview the different agencies. I like to match the caregiver with the actual individual. And I'll give you an example. I will not put a catty chatty with an introvert. It won't work. That caregiver is going to be tossed out of the house.
Yeah.
So I'm going to match the personality of the caregiver with the client so that they can thrive together. They can build a relationship on trust. And then I come in and I train that caregiver to that specific need of that senior so that we don't have an issue where a caregiver is being told one thing by a family member, another thing by the senior. We don't want that's not fair to the caregiver. So we learn to work together where everyone is on the same page, that seniors feels empowered to be in control of their care plan.
Right.
And when you do that, you have a senior that will work with you.
I love it. Karen. If you need her help, Karen Campbell, again, find her myageinplaceadvocate.com. She's in Long Island, but you work with people everywhere, or?
Yes, I do work with people everywhere.
All right. So, all right, guys, that's it for us. And I want to say a big thank you to Karen Campbell for coming on the show and sharing your incredibly important information.
And I want to thank you, Jill, for the work that you're doing in supporting the community, to have resources, to have a voice, to be heard, to know that they're mattered. This is really important in the time that we're living, that we don't have to hold anything on our shoulders by ourselves. We get to create the community that we feel safe in.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. I'm Jill Conway. I hope you're inspired to really pursue your own goals, believe in yourself, and dream bigger. I hope you take Karen's advice and help and use it to help the people you love. I think your voice matters and your story can help others, just like Karen's story is helping, I'm sure, so many people across the country. So I hope you join me next time. Share this podcast with a friend and follow us on Instagram. Karen, you on Instagram?
Yes, I am. I'm on IG under My Age in Place Advocate.
All right, everybody. So, all right, again, thank you so much. And thank you, Karen.